Alright, here's a quick update. Things look a little bit different right now. Got the car in here. Start up here. We have all the damage taken care of over here. There's still some sanding to do there. Forgot that spot. But the fender's taken care of. The rest of it's going to be taken care of with the high build primer that we're going to use. The other problem is I had that little dent there, and then I started feeling around. It was a little bit dented here, and then the other side had some filler in it that came out. So they both were dented in there. I don't know why, but we filled them both sides, blocked it out. The other side was more of a pain in the ass. I'll show you that. But we have it just taped out. I figured before we start shooting in primer and everything, I'm just gonna clean up these moldings here, other side, paint those black. This little molding here is also black, so this is gonna go black all the way around. I figure it's just gonna be a little bit easier to do it now. Once it dries, I'll be able to tape it off and then paint the car, and then do primer, paint the car, and then it should all be taken care of and ready to go. And then here I just started, but I'm gonna clean up since these doors were off a different car. I mean, the inside's painted black. Jams are white. I'm just gonna paint the whole fucking thing black. These jams are gonna stay the factory color blue, and the rest of the car's gonna go a different color blue. I mean, if I was doing a complete color change, I'd probably paint these the same color, or I even thought, because I always wanted to paint the interior like white, like chassis paint white, like the roll cage white when I get a cage. Do that white, and then I can also do the jams. Maybe I'll take the doors off and just do, have one color on the inside, and then you could always change, because it is a drift car, you could always change the exterior color. I mean, people change colors for every season sometimes, or different teams or something like that, but you just change the outside color. It's a little bit easier. Here, this looks a little bit different. I started smashing this out, went underneath the car. That's not the only reason it's up on jack stands right now, but I went in with there it is, my ball peen, and just started whacking it till it was all out. And let me see if you can see it. Let me get my light. But you can see it's all wavy at the bottom. I'm gonna have to stick a dolly like in, and then like tap it to stretch it, and get it somewhat straight. But this bottom part, like I said, doesn't really matter. This part's hit out a little bit too far, so that's gonna have to go in. And I'm gonna do my best to do it. But this part's holding out the mud guard. Like I said, I just want to create it's holding out more than it would the other side. I just want to create a line. It's hard to do with this two-handed. I just want a line here, nice smooth line, where where the mud guard would meet the body. And anything underneath it's hidden, and I don't give a fuck about it. Back here, I think I showed you that. That's taken care of. Shaved the lock cylinder and found a dent back there, cleaned it up. I'm still debating whether or not I want to shave the emblems or not. I mean, I go back and forth completely a lot. This side also had that dent right there. I don't know if they were door dings or something, but a nice little crater there. I mean, at first I thought it was on both sides, so I thought maybe it was like a factory body line. But then it's nice to have a second car here that's not touched. And I could just go back and check that. I mean, it is convertible, but that body line right there should all be the same. And it wasn't on either side of that car, so that's why we filled it there. I mean, it didn't look terrible because they're both almost identical. And like I said, get this all taped off. We're going to paint the moldings again. Do that. Same thing, jams. You see, I just went over this with some sandpaper, just cleaned it up a little bit. I ripped off the factory coating. I'll show you on the other car. But it's like this plastic shitty coating. Just ripped it off of there and just cleaned it up and just giving it a bit of a cleaner look. Find windshield molding trim. It's going to be a fortune if I can find it, but you can see how jagged this shit is and it's missing piece. That's how it was. I just ripped it all off. A little time consuming, but I did it. And the main reason, I'll give you, besides a body work update, I'll give you an under the car update. Since it's up there, we got the fuel cell, the diff. The major problem I was having was, one, the diff was whining like a bastard. So what I did was I just filled the diff with some more gear oil. It's slanted, so I overfilled it. I really don't give a fuck. But the other problem is I'm probably not going to be able to fill it. Let's see. The drive shaft bolts. There they are. They kept loosening up. I'll talk about it. Let me get out from under here. The drive shaft bolts kept loosening up, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. So what the problem was is I had a 5/16 bolt in there and nutted, and the bolt's a little bit smaller than the hole. So what would happen is when the motor would torque, the bolt would cock sideways, or the drive shaft would torque, the bolt would turn sideways, and so all the drive shaft bolts were twisted in there. So I tried tightening them up, and I didn't realize it at first, and then they loosened up again, and then they had lock nuts on there. So I was like, that's weird. So I took it apart, and I'm like, I'm gonna Loctite the shit out of them. And so then I realized once I couldn't take the bolt out. Is when I took the nut off, and I was looking at the bolt, and the bolt was turned sideways a little bit. And I'm like, well, I can't get it out. They're jammed in there. I'm like, they're probably fucking bent. So then I loosened them all up, and I was able to twist the drive shaft from the rear. And sure as shit, these fucking bolts came out. So I went to a bigger bolt. You can see the difference. I went to a 3/8 bolt, which is barely fit in there. So it's a tight fit. So now the drive shaft can't twist. And Loctite the shit out, nutted it. And I might go back and fucking double nut it just to make sure, because I'm tired of dealing with issues. And tightened all 4 of them up. It was a pain in the ass. Turn the wheel, have somebody hold the hydro handbrake, because when you tighten them, the fucking thing would twist. Even with it in gear, it'd want to spin the fucking wheels and transmission in first gear. So I held the hydro handbrake. I had somebody hold the hydro while I tightened these up. And like I said, I filled up the rear, so hopefully that takes care of that issue. The one problem is the car would just keep clunking back and forth into gear, and it was a tranny mount at first, and I'm like, well, maybe that's the reason why it changed. These bolts loosened up. So I'm like, all right. So then it happened again. Like, that's not the issue. And I had this high pitched whining sound going through it. So I'm like, maybe I fucked up a bearing when we welded the diff. But we'll see if that cures it. It took almost a whole quart. Yeah, I think it's a quart. Where is this? Yeah, 1 quart of gear oil. And hopefully that fixes it. We'll see after everything gets done. That'll be for a while from now anyways. But if not, the oil helped, and so did the right size bolts. And started hammering away at this a little bit more. You can see I fixed, there's an actual lip there now, not all jagged. The only problem is I'm going to have to do some body work here, and I think here there's a high spot, so I'm going to have to tap that, fill it. This is definitely getting filled there and there, because the mud guard comes to about here. So anything lower than that don't really matter. I'll mark it and bondo it and see what happens with it. And then I also took care of that one spot down here. So we're in good shape now. We're getting there.